Her abusive ex grabbed her arm at the party. The Korean Mafia boss's hand went to his jacket. I felt him before I saw him. The party was loud. Champagne glasses clinking, laughter bouncing off marble walls, a string quartet playing something I didn't recognize. I was standing near the balcony doors, half listening to a woman talk about investment art, when the air changed. That feeling, the one I'd learned to trust 2 years too late. Patrick. I turned. He was already walking toward me, smiling. That smile that used to make me feel special, and now just made my stomach drop. He shouldn't have been here. This was invitation only. I checked the list twice. Marcia. His voice was warm. Easy. Like he hadn't put me in the hospital 18 months ago. You look beautiful. Don't. I stepped back. My heel caught on someone's foot. His hand shot out. Grabbed my arm. Hard. Right above the elbow, where the bruises used to bloom. Careful, he said. Still smiling. Wouldn't want you to hurt yourself. His fingers dug in. A warning. A reminder. I tried to pull away. He held tighter. If you're watching this right now, do me a favor. Hit like, subscribe, and drop your location and time in the comments. I need to know I'm not the only one awake at 3 in the morning, holding my breath. The crowd kept moving around us. Talking. Laughing. No one stopped. A few people glanced over, but they didn't see what I felt. They saw a man steadying his date. They saw normal. That's when I noticed him. Across the room. Near the bar. Tall. Sharp suit. Korean features. Perfectly still in a room full of movement. He wasn't looking at the bartender. Wasn't looking at the art on the walls or the people passing champagne. He was looking at Patrick's hand on my arm. And his face. God. His face was terrifying in how calm it was. No anger. No shock. Just this cold, focused stillness that made every hair on my body stand up. Then his hand moved. Slowly. Deliberately. Toward the inside of his jacket. His eyes never left Patrick. I stopped breathing. Patrick leaned closer, oblivious. We need to talk. Outside. Now. Let go of me. You're making a scene. You're the one. His jaw tightened. His fingers pressed deeper into muscle that remembered exactly how much pressure it took to leave marks. Across the room, that man's hand slipped another inch inside his jacket. Someone bumped into us. A woman in red, apologizing. Patrick's grip loosened. I yanked free and pushed through the crowd. Didn't look back. Didn't care who I shoved past. I made it to the bathroom. Locked the door. Stared at the red fingerprints on my arm and tried not to be sick. When I came out 20 minutes later, Patrick was gone. So was the man from the bar. I told myself it meant nothing. Patrick probably got bored. The other guy probably left with someone. Coincidence. But my arm still hurt where Patrick had grabbed it. And I couldn't stop thinking about the way that stranger had looked at him. Not at me. At Patrick's hand. At the exact point of contact. Like he was memorizing it. The next day, Patrick's number was disconnected. 3 days later, his social media went dark. A week after that, I ran into his former coworker at a coffee shop. She looked at me strangely and said Patrick had moved. Out of state. Really suddenly. He hadn't mentioned moving. He'd mentioned talking. I started paying attention to smaller things. A man who'd catcalled me on my running route suddenly crossed the street when he saw me. My landlord called to apologize for a billing error I'd already paid. A job interview I'd failed somehow turned into an offer. Doors that should have stayed closed were opening. I didn't know why, but I kept thinking about that party. About the man who hadn't moved toward me or toward Patrick. Who'd just stood there with his hand inside his jacket, watching, deciding something. I started asking questions. Carefully. Who owned the building where the party happened? Who had the power to make someone like Patrick, charming, connected Patrick, disappear overnight? One name kept surfacing. Whispered. Redirected. Hyuk-jin. No last name. Just Hyuk-jin. And when I asked my friend Simone about him, she went pale. You don't want to know about him, she said. Seriously, Marcia. Let it go. But I couldn't. Because I kept seeing him. Not up close. Just there. In the background. A figure across the street when I left work. A dark car outside my building. Always at a distance. Never approaching. And I realized something that made my chest tight. He'd been watching me long before that party. The question wasn't whether he saw Patrick grab my arm. The question was what he'd decided to do about it. And why his hand had stopped moving before he pulled whatever was inside that jacket. I did something stupid. I walked up to that dark car one evening and knocked on the window. It rolled down. Slowly. He looked at me with the same expression from the party. Up close, he was even more unsettling. Sharp cheekbones. Dark eyes that gave nothing away. The kind of face you couldn't read, even if you tried. You've been following me, I said. Yes. No denial. No excuse. Just yes. Why? Get in the car, Marcia. Hearing my name in his voice shouldn't have sent a chill down my spine. But it did, because I'd never told him my name. Never spoken to him before this moment. I'm not getting in your car. Then we'll talk here. But you won't like what I have to say, and you won't like who might hear it. I looked around. The street was empty, but his point was clear. I got in. He didn't drive. Just sat there, hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead. The silence stretched. I counted my heartbeats. 12, 15, 20. Patrick didn't find you by accident, he said finally. He was sent. My blood went cold. Sent by who? Someone who wanted leverage over me. I don't even know you. No. He turned to look at me then. Something in his expression shifted. Not warmth, but acknowledgement. But I know you. Before I tell you what he said next, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment below where you're watching from and what time it is. Because what he's about to reveal changed everything I thought I knew about the last 2 years of my life. The way he said it made my skin crawl. Not because it sounded threatening. Because it sounded true. I've known you for 2 years, he continued. Since the night you walked into that hospital with a fractured rib and lied to the nurses about falling downstairs. I couldn't breathe. You were wearing a blue dress. You kept your arms crossed, even though it hurt. You didn't cry. Not once. And when the doctor asked if you wanted to file a report, you said no so quickly, he didn't ask again. How do you? I own that hospital. Among other things. He said it like he was talking about the weather. I see a lot of things, Marcia. That night, I saw something I couldn't ignore. You've been watching me for 2 years? Protecting you for 2 years. I didn't ask for that. You didn't have to. His voice didn't rise, but something in it made me stop. Made me listen. Patrick was connected to people I was handling. When I realized what he was doing to you, I made sure he couldn't do it anymore. I had him transferred. Demoted. Isolated. My hands were shaking. It wasn't enough. No. He kept circling back. So I waited. For what? He looked at me directly. Held my gaze. For him to make a mistake big enough to justify ending him. The casual way he said ending made my stomach turn. The party, I whispered. He was told to stay away. He came anyway. Touched you where everyone could see. His hand flexed on the steering wheel. Just once. He gave me everything I needed. I thought about that moment. Patrick's fingers digging into my arm. The crowd pretending not to notice. And this man across the room, hand moving toward his jacket. What was in your jacket? I asked. He didn't answer. Where is Patrick now? Somewhere he can't hurt you. That's all you need to know. I should have been horrified. Should have demanded answers. Threatened to go to the police. Instead, I asked the question that had been eating at me since the party. Why me? He was quiet for a long time. Long enough that I thought he wouldn't answer. Because you didn't break, he said finally. Everyone breaks eventually. You didn't. And I don't let rare things get destroyed. I didn't see him for 2 days after that. No dark car outside my building. No figure across the street. Nothing. I told myself I was relieved. That I wanted him gone. I was lying. Because for 2 years, I'd been protected by someone I didn't know existed. And now that I knew, the absence felt worse than the surveillance ever had. On the third night, I was having dinner with friends at a small restaurant downtown. We were laughing about something stupid, something normal, when the air changed. I felt him before I saw him. He walked straight to our table. Didn't ask permission. Didn't acknowledge my friends. Just placed one hand on the back of my chair and said, Marcia, we need to leave. The conversation died. Everyone stared. I'm eating, I said. Now. Something in his tone made me stand before I could think. My friends looked confused. Concerned. One of them started to say something. He cut her off with a single look. I grabbed my coat. Followed him outside. There were 3 cars waiting. Black. Identical. Men standing beside them in suits that didn't hide what they were carrying. What's happening? I asked. Patrick's brother came looking for answers. He opened the car door. He found your address. Ice flooded my veins. He's at my apartment? He was. He's being handled. Handled how? He looked at me then. Really looked. And I saw something I hadn't seen before. Not coldness. Not calculation. Possession. You're under my protection now, he said quietly. Publicly. Permanently. That means anyone who touches you answers to me. Anyone who threatens you disappears. Anyone who even looks at you wrong gets a visit. He stepped closer. Close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. I'm done watching from the shadows, Marcia. I'm done pretending you're not mine to protect. I'm not. Yes, you are. He said it with absolute certainty. You have been since the night I decided you were worth keeping alive. You just didn't know it yet. I should have run. Should have screamed. Should have done anything except stand there while he claimed ownership of my life like it was a fact we both had to accept. But I'd been hunted for 2 years by a man who said he loved me, and protected for 2 years by a man who said nothing at all. Until now. What happens now? I asked. Now. His expression didn't change. Now everyone knows. And the ones who don't learn quickly. He gestured to the car. Get in. You're not going back to that apartment. You're staying somewhere I control until this is finished. And then you decide if you want to stay. He said it like there was actually a choice. Like I hadn't already been his the moment he put his hand inside his jacket at that party and decided I was worth whatever came next. I got in the car. Behind me, I heard him say something in Korean to one of his men. Quiet. Firm. The man nodded and walked back toward my building. And I realized, sitting there in the dark, watching the city lights blur past the window, that I'd just been claimed by the most dangerous man I'd ever met. The most terrifying part? I wasn't sure I wanted to be unclaimed. The apartment he took me to wasn't what I expected. I thought it would be cold. All black leather and glass. The kind of place that screamed money and control. Instead, it was warm. Lived in. Books on shelves. Art that looked chosen, not expensive. A kitchen that had actually been used. This is yours. I asked. One of them. He walked to the window. Looked out at the city. His men had stayed downstairs. We were alone. Patrick's brother, I said. What did you do to him? What needed to be done? That's not an answer. He turned. You don't want the answer, Marcia. You want reassurance. Those are different things. He was right. I hated that he was right. How long do I have to stay here? As long as it takes. For what? For the message to spread. For people to understand what it costs to come near you. The way he said it made my chest tight. Like I was something valuable. Something worth protecting at any price. I didn't ask for this, I said quietly. No. You asked to be left alone. To be safe. To not have to look over your shoulder every time you left your apartment. He stepped closer. This is what that looks like. This is control. Yes. At least he was honest. What if I want to leave? You can. Right now? Walk out that door. Go back to your life. His eyes didn't leave mine. But Patrick's brother won't be the last. There will be others. People who want to know what happened. People who think you're leverage. People who see weakness where I see value. And if I stay, then you're under my protection. Completely. No half measures. No negotiations. I should have said no. Should have walked out right then. But I was so tired of being afraid. So tired of pretending I was fine when I spent every night checking locks and windows. When I changed my running route every week. When I avoided restaurants Patrick used to like. I need time to think, I said. Take it. He walked toward the door. Stopped. There's food in the kitchen. Clean clothes in the bedroom. My number is programmed in the phone on the counter. You need anything, you call. He left before I could respond. And I stood there in his apartment, in the middle of his protection, wondering when exactly I'd stopped being the one making decisions about my own life. What happens next will make you question everything you think you know about protection, control, and the fine line between the two. Stay with me. I didn't sleep that night. I walked through his apartment like I was looking for proof. Proof he was dangerous. Proof I should run. Proof this was a mistake. But everything I found just confused me more. Medical textbooks in 3 languages. A collection of jazz records organized by year. Photographs on the mantle of people I didn't recognize, all smiling. Normal things. Human things. It didn't match the man who'd casually mentioned ending Patrick. Around 3 in the morning, I found a locked drawer in his desk. It shouldn't have bothered me. It was his apartment. His privacy. But I needed to know. I picked the lock with a hairpin. Easier than it should have been. Inside was a folder. Just one. I opened it. My stomach dropped. Medical records. From the hospital. The night with the fractured rib. But also others. Visits I'd forgotten about. A sprained wrist. Bruised ribs. Each one documented with photographs I didn't remember anyone taking. Dates. Times. Names of nurses and doctors who treated me. And underneath all of it, a single sheet of paper with handwritten notes in Korean. I couldn't read most of it. But I recognized one word, repeated multiple times. My name. He'd been keeping files on me. Evidence. Documentation of every injury Patrick had caused. For 2 years. I sat there on his floor, staring at proof that a stranger had cared more about what was happening to me than I had. That's when I heard the key in the door. He walked in, saw me on the floor, saw the open drawer, the folder in my hands. He didn't look surprised. You weren't supposed to find that yet, he said quietly. Yet. I was going to show you. When you were ready. Ready for what? To understand that this wasn't impulse. Or obsession. He crouched down in front of me. I don't protect things on a whim, Marcia. I protect investments. Things that matter. Things worth keeping. I'm not a thing. No, you're not. His expression shifted. Something softer underneath the control. You're the woman who walked into my hospital with broken ribs and lied to protect the man who broke them. Who went back to work the next day like nothing happened. Who smiled at strangers even though you were terrified. He reached out. Stopped just short of touching my face. You're rare. And I don't let rare things get destroyed by common trash. I should have been angry. Should have thrown the folder at him and walked out. Instead, I asked the question that had been burning in my chest since the party. What was in your jacket that night? He stood, extended his hand to help me up. The answer to what happens when someone touches what's mine. I stayed in his apartment for 3 days. Not because he forced me. Because I was too afraid to leave. Not of him. Of what waited outside. On the 4th morning, I woke up to find him sitting in the chair across from the bed. Just sitting there. Watching me sleep. I should have screamed. Instead, I pulled the blanket up to my chin and stared back. How long have you been there? I asked. An hour. Maybe 2. That's not normal. Nothing about this is normal. He stood. Walked to the window. Patrick's brother is in the hospital. He'll survive. But he won't come looking for you again. What did you do to him? Reminded him that some people aren't worth the consequences. The casual way he said it made my skin cold. I need to go home, I said. You are home. My actual apartment. My things. My life. He turned to look at me. Your life is the one where you check over your shoulder every morning. Where you take different routes to work. Where you avoid entire neighborhoods because Patrick used to go there. Every word was true. I hated that. That's not living, he continued. That's surviving. And I didn't protect you for 2 years so you could keep surviving. Then what did you protect me for? He crossed the room. Sat on the edge of the bed. Close enough that I could see the scar on his jaw I hadn't noticed before. Because the first time I saw you, you were trying not to cry in a hospital hallway. And you were losing. His voice dropped. You were holding your ribs. Biting your lip so hard it bled. And when the nurse asked if someone did this to you, you smiled. I remembered that night. Remembered forcing that smile. You smiled like your life depended on it, he said. And I realized it did. That if you told the truth, Patrick would make it worse. So you protected him by destroying yourself. Why did you care? Because I know what it looks like when someone chooses pain over safety. I've done it. He stood. The difference is I had power. You didn't. So I decided to change that. By stalking me. By making sure you stayed alive long enough to realize you deserved better. I didn't know what to say to that. There's a car downstairs, he said. It'll take you to your apartment. You can pack whatever you want. Decide if you're coming back. And if I don't come back, then you don't. But the protection doesn't stop. Whether you accept it or not, you're under my watch. That doesn't change. He walked to the door. Stopped. The file you found. I kept it because I knew one day you'd need proof. Not for the police. For yourself. Proof that what happened to you mattered. That someone noticed. That you weren't forgotten. He left. And I sat there, understanding that I'd been claimed by a man who saw my pain before I admitted it existed. I went back to my apartment. The car he sent had 2 men in suits who didn't speak. Just drove. Just watched. When we pulled up to my building, one of them got out first. Checked the street. The entrance. Then nodded. Like I was someone important. Someone worth protecting. It felt strange. Inside my apartment, everything looked the same. But it felt different. Smaller. Like I'd outgrown it in 3 days. I started packing. Clothes. Books. Things that mattered. That's when I found the envelope. It was on my kitchen counter. Plain. White. My name written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a single photograph. Me and Patrick. From 2 years ago. Before everything went bad. We were laughing. His arm around my shoulder. I remembered that day. Remembered thinking I was happy. On the back, someone had written, "He wasn't always a monster. Neither am I." My hands shook. There was something else in the envelope. A phone number. And below it, "When you're ready to know the whole truth, call this number. Ask for Simone." Simone. My friend who'd warned me about Jacke. Before I tell you what I found out when I called that number, I need to know something. Have you ever had someone in your life who protected you from a distance? Someone who saw your pain before you admitted it? Drop a comment and let me know. Because what Simone told me completely changed how I saw everything. I called. She answered on the first ring. "I was wondering when you'd find that," she said. "What is this, Simone? The truth you've been avoiding." She took a breath. Jacke didn't just own the hospital, Marcia. He owned the building where Patrick worked. The investment firm that fired him. The apartment complex that rejected his rental applications. My stomach dropped. He's been systematically removing Patrick from your life for 18 months. Every door that closed for Patrick, Jacke closed it. Every opportunity that disappeared, he made it disappear. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you're dealing with. Hyuk-jin doesn't just protect. He erases. And once you're under his protection, you don't get to choose when it stops. I can leave. Can you? She laughed. Bitter. He's already restructured your life around his control. Your job offer? He made a call. Your landlord's apology? He owns the building. Every good thing that's happened to you in the last year traces back to him. I couldn't breathe. He's not saving you, Marcia. He's collecting you. And the scary part? You're starting to let him. She hung up. I stood there in my apartment, surrounded by boxes, holding a photograph of a man who used to hurt me, learning that the man who protected me had been controlling my entire life. And I didn't know which one scared me more. I didn't go back to his apartment that night. I stayed in mine, locked the door, turned off my phone, but I couldn't stop thinking about what Simone said. Every good thing traced back to him. I pulled out my laptop, started searching. My job offer 6 months ago, the company had a silent investor. Korean name I couldn't pronounce. My landlord's sudden forgiveness. The building sold 3 weeks before that. New owner never disclosed. The coffee shop where I'd stopped going because Patrick used to wait for me there closed for renovations right after I mentioned it to a coworker. Reopened a month later under new management. Everything connected back to him. I was sitting there, surrounded by evidence of 2 years of invisible control, when someone knocked on my door. Not the doorbell. A knock. 3 times. Deliberate. I looked through the peephole. Hyuk-jin. He knew I was avoiding him. And he came anyway. I opened the door. You didn't come back, he said. No. Why? I held up my laptop. Showed him the research. Because I needed to know if Simone was right. If you've been controlling my life. He didn't even look at the screen. Just looked at me. Yes. No excuse. No justification. Just yes. Every job opportunity. Every lucky break. Yes. The landlord. The coffee shop. The man who stopped catcalling me. Yes. My hands were shaking. You had no right. I had every right. He stepped inside. Closed the door behind him. You were being destroyed. Slowly. Deliberately. And no one was stopping it. So you decided to play God? I decided to protect what was mine. I'm not yours. You've been mine since the night I decided you were worth saving. His voice didn't rise. Didn't need to. You just didn't know it. I wanted to scream. To throw him out. To tell him he was wrong. But I couldn't. Because for 2 years, I'd been safer than I'd ever been with Patrick. Doors opened. Threats disappeared. And I never once asked why. I rebuilt your life, he said quietly. Piece by piece. Removed every obstacle. Every person who hurt you. Every system that failed you. I gave you safety. Opportunity. Space to heal. Without asking. If I'd asked, you would have said no. You would have suffered in silence because that's what you'd been trained to do. He was right. I hated that he was right. What do you want from me? I whispered. I want you to stop running from the one person who's kept you alive. And if I can't, he moved closer. Close enough that I could see the exhaustion in his eyes. The control that cost him something. Then I'll keep protecting you anyway. From a distance. Like I always have. He reached past me. Put something on my counter. But you should know, Patrick wasn't the only threat. And his brother wasn't the last. He left. I looked at what he'd put down. Another file. Thicker than the first. Inside were photographs. Names. Dates. 7 different people who tried to find me in the last 18 months. And beside each one, a single word in red ink. Handled. I read that file 3 times. 7 people. 7 threats I never knew existed. A private investigator Patrick hired. Handled. Patrick's cousin who'd come to my job asking questions. Handled. A reporter digging into Patrick's disappearance who found my name. Handled. Each one documented. Each one stopped before they got close. And beneath all of it, a note in Hyuk-jin's handwriting. You were never as safe as you thought. You were only as safe as I made you. I called him at 2 in the morning. He answered immediately, like he'd been waiting. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Would you have believed me? I don't know. Exactly. I heard him move. Heard fabric shift like he was sitting up. You needed to discover it yourself. To see the evidence. To understand the scope. The scope of what? Of how many people wanted to use you. Hurt you. Find leverage through you. His voice dropped. Patrick was just the beginning, Marcia. He was connected to people who don't forget. Who don't forgive. Who see weakness and exploit it. My throat was tight. What people? The kind I handle. You mean kill. He didn't answer. That was answer enough. I can't do this, I whispered. Yes, you can. You've been doing it for 2 years. I didn't know. And now you do. So decide. His voice was calm. Patient. Keep living in ignorance. Go back to checking locks and changing routes and pretending you're safe. Or accept that the reason you're alive is because someone decided you were worth the cost. What cost? Everything. He said it simply. My reputation. My resources. My time. I've spent 2 years building a wall around you. Moving pieces. Eliminating threats. And I'd do it again. Why? Silence. Long enough that I thought he'd hung up. Then, because the night you walked into that hospital, you reminded me why I started doing this. Why I built what I built. Power isn't about control. It's about protecting the things that matter. And I matter? More than you understand. I close my eyes. I don't know if I can trust this. You don't have to trust it. You just have to stop fighting it. I heard him stand. There's a car outside your building. It's been there since I left. It'll be there tomorrow. And the day after. Whether you get in or not is your choice. That's not a choice. That's surveillance. That's protection. Learn the difference. He hung up. I walked to my window. Looked down. Black car. Tinted windows. Engine running. Waiting. I stood there for an hour. Watching. Thinking. About Patrick's hands on my arms. About the hospital. About 2 years of lucky breaks that weren't luck at all. About a man who moved his hand toward his jacket and decided I was worth whatever came next. At 3:30 in the morning, I grabbed my coat. Went downstairs. The car door opened before I reached it. I got in. The driver didn't speak. Just drove. Not to Hyuk Jin's apartment. Somewhere else. A building I didn't recognize. Glass and steel. Security at every entrance. The car pulled into an underground garage. Stopped. 5th floor, the driver said. First words he'd spoken. He's waiting. I took the elevator up. The doors opened to a single hallway. One door at the end. It was already open. Inside was an office. Sleek. Minimal. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Hyuk Jin stood with his back to me, looking out at the lights. You came, he said without turning. You knew I would. No. I hoped. He turned. There's a difference. I walked to the window. Stood beside him. The city looked different from up here. Smaller. Controlled. Is this where you run everything? I asked. This is where I make decisions. Like the decision to rebuild my life without asking. Yes. I should have been angry, but I was tired of being angry. Simone said you erase people. I do. Patrick. Gone. Permanently. His brother? In a hospital 3 states away. He'll recover. But he won't forget what happens when you threaten what's mine. There was that word again. Mine. The 7 people in the file? I said. What happened to them? They were convinced to redirect their attention. Convinced how? He looked at me. Do you really want to know? I thought about it. About what knowing would cost me. No, I whispered. Smart. He moved closer. This is the part where you decide, Marcia. All of it. The truth. The protection. The cost. What cost? The cost of being associated with me. Of being under my protection publicly. His voice was quiet. Serious. People will know you're mine. They'll treat you differently. Some with respect. Some with fear. Some will try to use you to get to me. And you'll handle them. Yes. But that means you can never pretend this isn't happening. Can never go back to the life you had before. I hated that life. I know. That's why I changed it. I turned to face him fully. What are you asking me? I'm asking you to stop pretending you don't need this. Stop pretending you're safer alone. He stepped closer. I'm asking you to accept that you've been mine for 2 years. And to stop fighting what that means. And what does it mean? It means no one touches you without consequences. No one threatens you without disappearing. No one even looks at you wrong without answering to me. That's not normal. Nothing about me is normal. But I kept you alive. And I'll keep doing it whether you accept it or not. Then why ask? Because I'm tired of protecting you from the shadows. His hand came up. Stopped just short of my face. Because I want you to choose this. Choose me. Choose safety that doesn't apologize for existing. I looked at his hand. At the control in his stillness. The party, I said quietly. When Patrick grabbed me. When your hand went to your jacket. What would you have done if that woman hadn't bumped into us? He didn't hesitate. Whatever was necessary. Would you have killed him? Right there? In front of everyone. His expression didn't change. Yes. Why? Because he touched what's mine. And I don't negotiate on that. I should have run. Should have been horrified. Instead, I felt safer than I'd ever felt in my life. I'm staying, I whispered. His hand finally touched my face. Gentle. Controlled. I know. Things changed after that night. Not slowly. Immediately. The car that took me to work wasn't a random driver. It was his driver. Same one every day. The coffee shop I liked. Suddenly, I never waited in line. Never paid. When I asked why, the barista just smiled and said, "You're taken care of." Taken care of. Like I was important. Like I mattered. People at work started treating me differently too. More careful. More respectful. Like they knew something I didn't. I asked Simone about it. She met me for lunch. Looked at me across the table like I was a stranger. You're really doing this, she said. Doing what? Accepting it. Him. All of it. He kept me safe. He controlled your life. Patrick controlled my life. Hyuk-jin gave me a choice. She laughed. Sharp. Did he? Or did he just make you think you had won? I didn't have an answer for that. Do you know what people are saying? She asked. About you? No. That you're his. Publicly. That he claimed you at some event, and now you're untouchable. She leaned forward. Do you understand what that means in his world? It means I'm safe. It means you're owned. The word hit harder than it should have. I'm not owned. Then leave. Right now? Walk away. See what happens. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Because I couldn't. Didn't want to. That's what I thought. She stood. Be careful, Marcia. Men like Hyuk-jin don't protect for free. Eventually, he'll want something back. She left me sitting there. That night, Hyuk-jin came to my apartment. Not his. Mine. First time he'd been there since I'd accepted his protection. He looked around. At the space I'd lived in for 3 years. At the life I'd built before him. You could move, he said. Where? Somewhere safer. Somewhere I control completely. You already control everything. Not everything. He turned to look at me. Not you. Not yet. What does that mean? It means you still think you can leave. Still think this is temporary. He stepped closer. It's not. The moment you got in that car, you made a choice. And that choice has consequences. What consequences? You're mine now. Publicly. Permanently. And everyone who matters knows it. My heart was racing. And if I change my mind? You won't. But if I do? He smiled. Small. Controlled. Then I'll let you go? From a distance. While making sure you stay alive. That's not letting go. No. It's not. But it's the best you'll get from me. He left. And I stood in my apartment, understanding that I traded one cage for another. The difference was this cage had prettier bars. And a man who'd kill to keep me inside it. 3 weeks after I accepted his protection, someone tested it. I was leaving work. Normal day. Normal routine. The car was waiting like always. But there was someone standing beside it. A man I didn't recognize. Expensive suit. Confident smile. The kind of person who was used to getting what he wanted. Marcia, he said. I stopped. Do I know you? Not yet. But I know you. He extended his hand. I'm a business associate of Hyuk-jin's. I wanted to introduce myself. Something felt wrong. He didn't mention you. I said. He wouldn't. We handle different aspects of his operations. The smile widened. I was hoping we could talk. Just a few minutes. The driver stepped out of the car. Positioned himself between me and the stranger. Miss Marcia needs to leave, he said quietly. The stranger's smile didn't fade. I'm sure she can make her own decisions. She can, the driver said. And she's leaving. Now. I got in the car. The stranger didn't move. Just watched us drive away. I called Hyuk-jin immediately. Someone approached me. I said. Outside my work. Said he was your business associate. Silence. Then, describe him. I did. More silence. Longer this time. Stay in the car. Don't go home. I'm sending you somewhere safe. What's happening? Someone's testing boundaries. Seeing if my protection is real or performance. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means someone thinks you're leverage. And they're about to learn what happens when they're wrong. If you're still with me at this point, I need you to understand something. What happened next changed everything. Not just for me, but for everyone who thought they could use me to get to him. Hit subscribe if you want to see how far he'll go to protect what's his. Because what comes next will show you exactly what I mean. The car took me to a house outside the city. Gated. Secured. Men in suits at every entrance. Hyuk-jin was already there. He looked different. Colder. The control I'd seen before was still there, but underneath it was something else. Rage. Who was he? I asked. Someone who should have known better. He gestured to a room. Stay here. Don't leave. Don't open the door for anyone except me. Where are you going? To make sure this doesn't happen again. He left before I could ask more questions. I sat in that room for 6 hours. No phone. No TV. Just silence and my own thoughts. When he came back, his knuckles were bruised. I didn't ask what happened. Didn't want to know. It's handled, he said. What does that mean? It means the message is clear now. You're not leverage. You're not a target. You're mine. And anyone who forgets that won't get a second chance to remember. He sat down across from me. Looked exhausted. This is the cost, he said quietly. This is what it means to be under my protection. People will test it. Push boundaries. Try to use you. And you'll handle them. Every single one. What if I don't want this? Don't want people getting hurt because of me. Then you should have stayed away from me 2 years ago. His eyes met mine. But you didn't. And now we're here. And I'm not letting you go. It wasn't a threat. It was a fact. I'm not asking anymore, Marcia. I'm telling you. You're mine. Publicly. Permanently. And anyone who touches you, threatens you, or even thinks about using you answers to me. He stood, held out his hand. Last chance to walk away. I looked at his hand. At the bruised knuckles. At the man who'd just hurt someone to keep me safe. I took his hand. I'm staying. His fingers closed around mine. Firm. Final. I know. I moved into his place the next day. Not the apartment where he'd first taken me. A house. Bigger. More secure. This is where I actually live, he said, showing me around. The apartment was for meetings. This is home. Home. The word felt strange. He gave me my own room. My own space. Didn't push for more. But the boundaries were clear. I was his. Everyone knew it. And the rules were simple. Don't leave without security. Don't talk to strangers. Don't trust anyone he hasn't vetted. It should have felt like a prison. Instead, it felt like the first time I could breathe in 2 years. No more checking locks. No more changing routes. No more fear every time my phone rang. Just safety. Complete. Total. Uncompromising. You're adjusting well, he said one morning over coffee. Is that surprising? Most people fight it longer. Most people weren't being hunted by their ex for 2 years. He smiled. Small. Fair point. I looked at him across the table. This man who'd rebuilt my life. Who'd protected me from shadows. Who'd claimed me without asking. What do you get out of this? I asked. Out of what? Protecting me. Controlling my life. What's in it for you? He set down his coffee. Considered the question. Peace, he said finally. Peace. I've spent 15 years building what I have. Power. Control. Resources. And most of it is ugly. Necessary, but ugly. He looked at me. You're the first thing I've protected that isn't. I'm not a thing. No, you're not. His expression softened. You're the first choice I made that wasn't about strategy. Or profit. Or control. You're the first thing I wanted just because I wanted it. My chest felt tight. And what if I disappoint you? You won't. How do you know? Because you didn't break when Patrick tried to destroy you. You won't break now. He stood. Walked to the window. My world is dangerous, Marcia. People will come for you. Test you. Try to use you against me. And I'll handle every single one. But I need you to understand something. What? He turned to look at me. Once you're fully in this, there's no going back. Not really. You'll always be the woman I claimed. The woman I protected. And that comes with a cost. What cost? Everything you were before me disappears. You become part of my world. My life. My protection. He was giving me one last chance to leave. I didn't take it. I'm already part of it, I said quietly. His smile was small. Satisfied. Yes, you are. 2 months after I moved in, I finally asked the question I'd been avoiding. We were sitting in his office. Him working. Me reading. Comfortable silence between us. What was in your jacket that night? I asked. He looked up. Knew exactly what night I meant. You really want to know? Yes. He opened a drawer. Pulled something out. Set it on the desk between us. A gun. Small. Black. Cold. This. I stared at it. At the thing that could have ended Patrick's life in 3 seconds. You were going to shoot him. In front of everyone. Yes. Why didn't you? Because someone bumped into you. Gave you a chance to run. And I realized something. He picked up the gun. Held it carefully. Killing him there would have protected you in that moment. But it would have exposed you to questions. Police. Media. Attention you didn't need. So you waited. I waited. And I made sure he disappeared in a way that couldn't trace back to you. He put the gun away. Locked the drawer. I would have done it though. If that woman hadn't intervened. If he'd hurt you more. I would have pulled this out and ended him right there. In front of all those people. For you? Yes. The certainty in his voice made my chest tight. That's insane. No. That's protection. He leaned back. You asked what you mean to me. That's the answer. You're worth the bullet. Worth the consequences. Worth everything that comes after. I didn't know what to say to that. I need you to hear this next part carefully. Because this is where everything I thought I knew about protection, control, and love completely shifted. If this story has kept you here this long, do me a favor. Subscribe. Share this. Comment below and tell me if you've ever felt claimed by someone who terrified and saved you at the same time. Because what I realized in that moment changed my entire life. I've been thinking, I said quietly, about what Simone said, that you don't protect for free, that eventually you'll want something back. And, what do you want, Hyukjin? Really? He was quiet for a long time. Then he stood, walked around the desk, sat on the edge in front of me. I want you to stop being afraid. Of what? Of this. Of me. of admitting that you feel safer here than you ever did before. His hand came up, touched my face. I want you to stop pretending this is temporary. Stop looking for exits. Stop waiting for the moment I prove Simone right. And if she is right, she's not. His thumb brushed my cheek. I don't want anything from you except what you're already giving me. Your presence, your trust, your acceptance that you're mine. That's not nothing. No, it's everything. He leaned closer. And that's why it terrifies you. Because Patrick took everything and gave you nothing. And you can't believe someone would protect you without destroying you. He was right. God, he was right. What if I can't give you what you want? Then I'll wait. Like I've been waiting for 2 years. He smiled. Small. I'm patient, Marcia. I built an empire on patience. I can wait for you to understand that this is real. I looked at him. This dangerous, controlled, terrifying man who'd rebuilt my life without asking. Who'd moved his hand toward his jacket and decided I was worth whatever came next. I'm not going anywhere, I whispered. I know. But I need you to understand something too. What? I'm not staying because I'm scared to leave. I'm staying because I choose this. Choose you. Choose safety that doesn't apologize. His expression shifted. Something softer underneath the control. Say that again. I choose you. He kissed me then. Gentle. Controlled. Like everything else about him. And I realized something that should have terrified me, but didn't. I'd been claimed by the most dangerous man I'd ever met. The man whose hand went to his jacket when someone hurt me. And I wasn't afraid anymore. But the choice I made that night? It came with consequences I didn't see coming. Because 3 days later, Hyuk-jin got a call that made his entire expression change. Someone higher in his organization had questions about me. About why he'd publicly claimed a woman no one had vetted. About what it meant for his position, his power, his control. And those questions came with an ultimatum I never expected. One that would force both of us to decide exactly how far protection could go before it became something else entirely. That's a story for another time. But if you want to hear it, you know what to do.